This is motherhood, and this is hard. And this is something that a lot of people my age are turning away from and like choosing to not partake in, as in having children or being a mom. Okay, welcome back to Coffee with Kay. I never enjoy taking breaks, but they're needed. They're so necessary. And honestly, mine are necessary, but also not an option. I don't have an option. I am a mom of 4 little kids, under 7, 7 and under. So my time is kind of fickle and it's pretty unpredictable at best. And that is what season 5 of Coffee with Kay is all about, is just unpredictable 30s. So I started season 4, I think early last year, and my theme was an ode to my 20s. So I was going through my 20s, kind of like my little life story, especially since becoming a Christian and just sharing lessons that I've learned from my 20s. And then I thought for season 5, how clever would it be to do an unpredictable 30s? Because if there's any word that I could use to describe my 30s, it is unpredictable. It has been just unpredictable at best. And I think that's a very, very good learning lesson that I want to take through the rest of my life, of just life's unpredictability and just how completely out of control it is. So I have a couple guests lined up for the rest of this season and 1 or 2 other solo topics that I want to tackle. But today I really just thought, speaking of unpredictability, I was supposed to start this an hour ago, but my baby didn't want to take a nap. And so I just was struggling for like 2 hours trying to get her to go to sleep. And I even have like a little sitter here today, so I could actually get to work on this stuff and like ship out my books. You notice this is a new background. This is hopefully where I'll get to start recording podcasts soon in our little office studio, where I have some peace and quiet every so often. And yeah, she just did not want to do that. And I was like, you know what? I have to get this episode out. And I was going to talk about something different, but then I just was thinking, man, I was praying. I was like, God, I don't know what you want me to talk about right now. I cannot think straight. I cannot get anything in order. Give me a topic. And I was sitting here with my baby in the carrier, just so fussy. And I was like, this is unpredictable. This is motherhood, and this is hard. And this is something that a lot of people my age are turning away from and like choosing to not partake in, as in having children or being a mom. And it's kind of heartbreaking. And on one hand, I can understand it. I can understand why you would want to not have kids or not bring kids into this world. But at the same time, there are so many things that I think are just not fair statements to make when it comes to child rearing, whether it's out of inexperience or just believing false narratives or just hearing misleading information. Maybe the example you were given growing up or like your childhood was just something that you don't want to repeat, and so you're just avoiding it completely, which is also not the answer. Or I'm going to say the word selfishness. And you know what? I can say that because I've been there. I've been a late teenager who was going to climb the corporate ladder and do all of these things before I had kids because they're a nuisance and they're a bother and this world is insane. Why would I bring more kids into this world? And God completely changed my mind about all of that. And I praise him for it. I still cannot believe I have 4 children. I can't believe it. I would have never thought. And also that I want to have more. Like, I would have never thought I was going to be somebody who would have a big family. I really didn't. So that's today's topic, unpredictable 30s. And I think it's going to really lead super well into some of my guests who are going to come talk on this podcast about infertility, divorce, and then also I'm going to bring my husband back and we're going to talk about carrying a baby with a life-limiting diagnosis, because that was something that has been our experience in our 30s that you could have never prepared us for. It was incredibly difficult. And it rocked our worlds and it's changed us forever. So I think this is going to be like a really good place to start as we have those conversations later on in the season. So I went and I asked AI, I asked ChatGPT, what are the top reasons that people in their late 20s and early 30s do not want to have children? And it said their top reasons were financial instability, mental health and personal healing, concern for the world, like climate, politics, and war, desire for freedom, travel, and career growth, uncertainty in relationships or lack of a partner, lack of desire or maternal parental instincts, health issues or fertility concerns, waiting for the right time. I said it in quotes, that's why I said that. And so I thought those are really interesting. And I wish I had spent more time kind of preparing for this episode. Like I said, I really thought of this topic like 15 minutes ago. So I did not give myself quite enough time to prepare. But I just think it's really interesting that that's what AI pulled, because truthfully, that's what I see on social media. That is what, when I tap into the Gen X generation and just kind of what some young people are saying about parenting, and even some people my age who are parents, and how they talk about their kids, how they talk about their spouse, how they talk about their parenting experience so far, it kind of makes sense. So we're just going to dive right in. Number one, the cost of raising children. There are some really not incredible, but there's some really good YouTubes out right now. I love YouTube about the cost of living right now. And so I've been watching some of those, and my mind's honestly, it's just my mind's been blown. And also, I feel for people right now. I feel for people who are really just struggling, trying to just pay the bills and stay afloat right now in this economy. I feel that too. We feel that in our household, and it's really stressful. And on top of that, like the cost of daycare, there are some YouTubes. I'm going to link them below. I'm going to link them in the show notes because they're a really good watch. So I highly recommend spending some time listening to them. And also, I think it's really good perspective to listen to some of these YouTubes and hear about people's like cost of living situations and just life situations from TikTok and stuff, because it really makes you kind of look at your life differently. And so, cost of raising children. The one thing that I really want to speak about in this topic is daycare. I was listening to those YouTubes, and some people were saying that they pay like $2,000 to $3,000 a month for childcare. That's insanity. That's twice my mortgage. Of course, you can't afford that. Who can afford that? But you know what? Also been seeing so much, and I say this with a lot of timidity because, okay, like trigger warning, how many babies have been dying in daycares? Has anybody else been noticing that on the news? How many babies have been passing away in daycare? And I just can't imagine it. I can't imagine a worse hurt than that. I can't. When I was a young mom, I tried to work. I talked about that in season 4 in Ode to My 20s, when I talked about like my little careers that I've had and my attempts at careers. And the one job that I did have for the longest amount of time while being a mom was a varsity swim coach for high schoolers. And we made that work because it was very early in the morning. So I left for work at like 4:30, and I got back from practice about 8:30. And then my husband went to work. Sometimes I had afternoon lessons or afternoon classes that I taught. Sometimes I would bring my toddlers with me, or somebody would watch them for an hour or two until my husband got home. But for the most part, it didn't affect my parenting. It didn't consume my time with my kids, because that was also very important to me. And I stopped when I had my third baby because I was just like, this is too much. I don't know how I'm going to make that work. And I'm not putting them in childcare. It's just not worth it. And then I worked in ministry for approximately 6 months. So when my oldest went to a parents' day out twice a week, my middle, she went with my sister-in-law twice a week, and then I took the baby to work with me. And I worked out like that. And I also just I couldn't make the money that it took to cover childcare and then have enough for savings. It just didn't make sense. So I'm trading my time, and I'm trading my energy. I'm trading my best creativity, like the best parts of me, I'm giving to everybody else. And by the end of the day, I'm just so tired and like worn out and stressed out that I didn't really have much good to give to my family. And they're the ones who deserved it the most. So I nixed that in the bud, and that was that. That was the end of that. Yeah, childcare is incredibly expensive. Are there ways to get around that? Absolutely. That's not necessarily what I want to talk about in this episode, but if you think that I should, tell me in the comments below and we'll tackle that question. I'll be happy to. Or if you have some ideas that you want to share with people, please put them in the comments too, because I think that can really help somebody. Maybe just having some ideas that they've never heard of and they just didn't even know was an option. So yeah, there are seasons for everything. There really are, especially when it comes to a career as a parent. And so maybe that season is ending and closing, and life needs to look different in order for you to be to let that cost go so you can afford life and raise children, because that shouldn't hinder you from raising children. That shouldn't be the norm. The norm shouldn't be to have a kid and immediately put them in daycare every single day for 8 hours a day until they're old enough to go to kindergarten, where they're in school for 8 hours a day until they turn 18. You're never going to see your kid. And honestly, what is even the point? What's the point of having kids then if you're just going to send them? Why bother? So I know that's a very, very, very strong opinion, but that's my opinion. I'm not going to apologize for it, because I have been there and I have thought that was the norm until I was willing to see that there were other options. Number 2, desire to heal first, mental health. Valid, so valid. I found out I had PTSD probably like 2 months after I got married. And that was really hard. I was struggling and I didn't know why I was struggling. And then somebody finally helped us get to that end line of, this is what's going on with you and this is how you can get help. And it took, I was very, very adamant that I got a handle on my mental health before we got pregnant. So this is so valid. This is so important, because the last thing you want to do is continue generational trauma. So I really agree with this one. So what are you waiting for? Go to therapy. I hear so many options about virtual therapy. There were some times in life where like we couldn't really afford counseling, but it was really important. And so our church had lay counselors that you could go meet with for free, or like they did like sliding income pay to meet with these lay counselors. And it was very helpful. For Christmas, I don't know. Don't go out for coffee and put it in a piggy bank for counseling instead. Maybe find a trusted friend and walk through like a self-help book. Maybe just walk through a self-help book on your own. Search on YouTube. There are so many resources out nowadays. There's got to be a place to start, even for free, even if you can't afford it or fit in the time. Okay, number 3, uncertainty about the world, climate, war, politics. This is also very valid, because when I was younger and I was looking at the way that life was going in the world, I was just like, oh, I don't really think that I want to have to bring a kid into this to suffer. It's a really popular narrative in the Christian community that like kids who are born in this generation were born for such a time as this. You know what? I truly believe that. I really do believe that I was born for a purpose, for me, to raise kids in this generation, to raise them to be equipped to handle this rocky world. And truthfully, we look at our world and say, wow, this is really out of control. This is really rocky. But you know what? Every generation before this has probably said the exact same thing. So it's really not an excuse. And if it is something that is really scary for you, okay, one, you have to let those fears go, because you can't control everything. And there's never going to be a perfect time of perfect peace in the world to bring children into the world. It's never going to happen. So you're just going to be waiting and waiting and waiting forever. And then it's going to be too late, because I'm telling you, it's not going to happen. It's just not realistic. And then also, like, you cannot let fear drive your life like that. That's crazy. That's too much. You're giving fear way too much say over your life. And then third, that's also should be, I think it can be motivation to be part of the change. So if you're seeing the world being hostile, or just not being fruitful, or the way that the government's going, okay, then participate, research, vote, like know who's on your city council, know who's your state senator, be an advocate for certain things, sign petitions, do your research, do your due diligence, put up flyers. Like, there are so many ways that you can promote different from what you're seeing and what you're afraid of. So if that's something that is really that important to you, then do something about it. And a lot of those things are free and they don't take a lot of time. It just takes takes being willing to learn. Okay, desire for freedom, travel, or career. You can take your kids traveling. All of our best traveling has been with our kids, up to 3 of them in tow. We've taken them around the world. And we took our first childless trip last May on a cruise, and that was our first solo vacation since our honeymoon. We've taken weekend trips here and there for our anniversary and for a baby moon, or just a weekend away so we can get rejuvenated. Since we've had kids for maybe 48 hours, right? It's great. I will never complain about it. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, mother-in-law, for helping us get away. But that vacation was everything. It was so great, and we cannot wait to do it again. But truthfully, we missed our kids. We really did. By day 4 or 5, we're like, okay, we're ready to get home. We miss our babies. And now that we have a new baby, we don't not travel with them usually until they're weaned. So that kind of limits where we can go, but we're still going. We're really actually praying and working hard to be able to take a trip for our 10th anniversary this winter. And so we've been thinking of places that we could bring the baby with us because she'll be like 9 months old. And so that kind of limits where we can go, but we're not stopping it. We don't stop life. We just take them along for the ride. And truthfully, it is so much more fun with them. My husband and I were just talking about that, about how, like, we cannot imagine a life without our kids. He was like, I feel like it'd be really boring. And I was like, honestly, I kind of agree. A career, yeah, career would be great. Imagining where I could have gone to and been by now in my own career as a woman could have been great. Like, I don't know. But career is always going to be there. If there's something that I really want to do, like I'm doing it now. I write books in my free time and I self-publish books because that is a huge dream of mine. That's my career dream. I would love to be a full-time author. Right now, that's not realistic, and that's okay. Now, when my kids are older or when I'm an empty nester, I'm going to have all the time in the world again. Time is going to be of the essence, and I'm going to be itching for things to do, and I'm going to be missing having little kids in my house, and it's going to be so quiet. And I'm going to have hours upon hours a day to do whatever I want. So I'm telling you, I promise, it's not going anywhere. It's really not. You can take your kids with you, and it really does add a completely new dynamic to parenting and to life that you just do not get when it's just you alone or just you and your spouse. Okay, so speaking of life with you and a spouse, number 5 is relationship uncertainty or not having a partner. Now, okay, ChatGPT, these are really valid. I feel for people in the dating scene right now. Again, I watched enough YouTubes of TikTok compilations and unhinged dating. Woo. I wouldn't want to be a single 20 something right now because I can imagine it's hard, especially since the pandemic. The way that people communicate and interact with each other is just so different. I had my brother and sister-in-law over, I think last week for dinner, and we were talking about just like our college experiences and our college stories. And we all went to college between like the 2010s, basically. I'll say that. And like a little bit before that, late. And it was just a completely different scene. I mean, kind of what you see on social media about like the millennial party experience and college experience. It's real. We had a lot of fun. We really did. I could not wait. I could not wait to go to college and have like the MTV experience. And I feel like I kind of did, honestly. And I would not do it again. Don't recommend it. It was ratchet. It was unsafe. There were so many things that I'm like, wow, that could have gone differently. Thank you, angels, for protecting me. And I definitely do not glorify sin, and I don't glorify drunkenness. And that was kind of what a lot of those experiences were founded on. But you got to have you interacted a ton. It was just a very social time. I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for that college experience because I made some really close friends in those years that I'm still friends with, and hopefully will be friends with like until I die. And I just cannot imagine like doing a lot of your coursework online now and like not having that interaction in school, because I'd be like, what is even the point? I feel like half the point of college is the social part and learning how to get along with other people, learning about the world and learning how people were raised differently and how you can still interact with them and how you can still be friends with them, even if you like come from different parts of the world. Like I feel like that is the point of college, even beyond getting your degree. I mean, you can learn and you can get a degree in a box without going to a college and paying all that money for it. So I really feel like you're also going for that experience, that life experience. So if you're not getting that and you miss that, then I'm sure it'd be really hard to like find somebody who you want to spend the rest of your life with. And just like hookup culture is absolutely brutal. And just young people are not the same right now. So I really do feel for people who are like wanting to date, wanting to find a spouse or settle down. And it's just not the same. The culture is so different. And I feel for you. It's probably very difficult. And so I was telling my brother, I have a younger brother, and just trying to give him some dating advice. And I was like, truthfully, I don't feel like I'm a good person for giving dating advice, but maybe like go to the library or a coffee shop or a church. Those are probably the three places that I would hang out to find somebody to date. That's kind of the best advice I got. But I will link, this is somebody that I connected with a couple years ago. I got to review her book, and I thought we did a podcast together. I really don't remember. Kate Ness. Her last name isn't Ness anymore. I think it's Warren now because she got married. And she has a dating. She's been like in the dating ministry sphere for a long time. What's it called? Isn't it The Heart of Dating? I think it's The Heart of Dating. And now she and her husband do it together. So I'm going to link that in the show notes in her book. Thank You for Rejecting Me. It's really good. And I think that can be a really great resource to learn just some more things about dating in this atmosphere in this day and age. So like I said, there are resources. Kind of just have to look. No maternal or paternal drive. I don't know, guys. Have you ever seen a toddler play? You don't have to teach a little girl how to be motherly. They just pick up a baby doll and they just know how to do it. And it's ingrained in people. It really is. Even my sons. My younger son loves to play with baby dolls right now, and it's so precious. And he and his older sister play moms and dads, which is them sitting in the car, which is the couch, with the baby dolls, and they're going for a ride to I don't know where. But that's how they play moms and dads. And I love it. And he will like to play with the baby dolls, and we have a little like shopping cart thing, and he'll take them to the grocery store, and he likes to like carry the baby in like a little play carrier that we have and take care of his baby and be a dad. And then they also have a new baby sister, and they just love the baby. Guys, I don't think that people are born with just this inability to love a child or be motherly. And if you really just don't have a good like idea of what that looks like, there are parenting books. There are parenting resources galore. I read a lot of parenting books when I had my first and my second, and I'm still reading parenting books because there's still so much I don't know. And that's true for every and anybody. Even if you have a parent who, was full on, parent mode for your childhood, that is a blessing. Like, you will learn so much from them. But if you don't have that, it's really okay. Like, you can learn. And the most amazing thing about when you have a baby is that your body is made to bond with your baby. So like you can be pregnant. I remember when I was pregnant with my first, I really felt like they were just there. And I just was like, I don't know who you are. Like, I just don't like feel that love for you yet. And then I remember when I gave birth and they put him on my chest, and I just had this overwhelming flood of emotions, which is also called oxytocin, which is part of the birthing experience. That's why your body does that. And it was just like, whoa, like, I love this little person. Like, this is my life. Like, this is my life literally in my hands on my chest. Like, I cannot believe this is happening. And that only continues to grow the more children I've had and the older my kids get, where I just look at them and I'm like, you were once the size of a peppercorn and now you're turning 6. Like, this is just so crazy. So that can come. I really do believe that can come, but also you do have to learn how to die to yourself. Ooh, did I say that out loud? Yeah, you have to set yourself aside, and that can be really hard. And I'm sorry to break it to you. You can't be selfish to have kids. Like, everybody, of course, is selfish, and everybody has their moments, especially as a mom. You're going to have your moments where it's so funny, where you're just like, I just want some quiet. I just want to take a shower. I just want to eat by myself. I just want to listen to something other than VeggieTales. And it's so funny because in a way, like, it is selfish, but then it's just like, out of all things to be selfish about, it's really not that big of a deal. But there are still clearly so many parents who choose themselves over their kids, which is why we have issues in such like a overloaded foster care system, why we have kids that, are iPad kids and just running amok and not being disciplined, not being comforted, not being looked out for. That is a problem. And so, yeah, you definitely have to step up and be willing to do the job because it's your job. It's your kid. It's nobody else's responsibility, which kind of leads back to the first thing. Like I said, I have very strong opinions about daycare. I kind of hope that we can do an episode about this. Let me know what you think in the comments if we should talk about this or not, or maybe if I should just talk about it on my Instagram and make a reel about it. I don't know. Because yeah, that's your job, is to parent your kids. All right, number 7, health or fertility concerns. There has been, I would assume to be, you know what, I'm going to ask ChatGPT really quick. How much more common are fertility problems in this generation? Because it seems like that happens a lot more often than it used to. And I don't know if it's just because we have more people talking about it online, or if this is just like an actual issue. Okay, so this is what ChatGPT says. Fertility issues are significantly more common today than in previous generations, especially among people in their late 20s to 30s. Here's a breakdown of data and key trends. It says 1 in 5 married women ages 15 to 49 in the US struggles to get pregnant after 1 year of trying. Fertility rates have dropped by over 50% since 1950. Men's sperm counts have declined by over 50% in the past 50 years. IVF, in vitro fertilization, has increased by 90% over the past decade in the US alone. That's wild. Okay. Why is it more common now? 1, delayed parenthood. People wait until their 30s and 40s to try for a child. A quantity and quality decline with age, starting around age 30 and more sharply after 35. That's wild. It's like I knew that, but I just don't think I fully realized. That's right. That for me, that's right now. That's now. Like my eggs are starting to decline right now. So I don't know if you ever watched Parks and Rec. At the end of the series, when Leslie has children, spoiler alert, and her doctor calls it a going out of business sale. Yeah, you're going out of business. Your body's shutting down. Your 20s truly is the time to have kids, and that's just biologically what it is. Okay, environmental toxins and endocrine disruptors. Yes. Exposure to plastics, pesticides, mold, and chemical products might interfere with reproductive hormones. This is an area where the crunchy community is spot on. Our bodies are overwhelmed. Yeehaw. That's so true. And like I said, let's see. That was, when was that? Season 4? Yeah, where I talked about my introduction to becoming a crunchy mom. So if you haven't realized, I am definitely very crunchy. Very crunchy. And I have loved learning about those things the past couple years because it is incredibly important and it is incredibly real. Chronic stress and poor sleep. Modern life is high stress and screen heavy, which disrupts hormone regulation and ovulation. Cortisol and adrenaline imbalance can impact both sperm and egg health. Okay, it's time to stop being a girl boss. I'm telling you, it's not a real thing. You can't have it all. You have to choose like 2 things, or you're just gonna burn yourself out. Absolutely. And I also got a cool screen protector. I'm going to put it on my Amazon storefront and link that in the show notes too, that converts the blue light to red light to help with that blue light interaction, not having so much, and like not straining your eyes and whatnot. Another little crunchy hack. So I'm going to put that in show notes because that is real. And boys, keep your phones out of your pockets. Keep them away from your testicles. You're welcome. Hormonal birth control legacy. Some women experience delayed cycles or ovulation issues after long-term birth control use, especially hormonal IUDs or the pill. This is all over the internet. If you have not heard about that, now is the time to learn. I'm not going to start because if I start, I won't stop. Autoimmune and inflammatory diseases. Endometriosis, PCOS, thyroid issues, and gut disorders are more prevalent and linked to fertility struggles. Many of these conditions were underdiagnosed in past generations. Super interesting. Male fertility crisis. Sperm counts are dropping at an alarming rate due to diet, chemicals, lack of movement, and tight clothing. Men are now responsible for 40 to 50% of yet the focus remains largely on women. Super interesting. So that's what ChatGPT pulled when it comes to health issues or fertility concerns. Why people in their 20s and 30s are choosing to not have kids or just not able to, if that is a concern for them. Okay, last one, waiting for the right time. Perfectionism or overpreparedness, waiting for the perfect circumstances, house, bank account, etc. Many realize later there is never a perfect time, which is what I was saying earlier. But this waiting period can still delay or deter parenthood. Okay, I also have been there too. But I remember when we had our first baby, we waited a full year after getting married because somebody had suggested that was a good idea. And honestly, for us, especially it was. We were still in college when we got married. I was in my senior year. My husband had just graduated and then he went back to school. And so I was halfway through my senior year of college, and I cannot imagine trying to finish out school with my first trimester of pregnancy. Oh, no, no, no. That would have been so bad. That would have been brutal. And we were so broke. We were so broke. And so we were just very adamant about making like wise financial decisions and setting ourselves up well, because we kind of already felt like we were a little bit behind because we had $500 to our name and we are married and we paid for our own wedding and paid for our own honeymoon. And we just knew that we didn't have a lot. We didn't have, hello, dry skin right there. We didn't have a lot. And that was okay. But we just wanted to make a smart choice. And I also had an internship that I had to do. And so it's just like, it was not the time to have a baby. Our first, 6 months of marriage, we had opposite schedules. And so we got to see each other maybe like an hour every day. It was absolutely insane. And I could not imagine bringing a baby into that. So that's super valid. And then after that first year, we got pregnant. We were still pretty broke, but we were just, and also had a car loan. So now we're paying off debt, but we just didn't feel like that should hinder us from starting a family. We had a rental house. It's totally okay. We didn't own our own house until 2 years ago. Can you imagine? Well, I'll say that for myself. I couldn't imagine having waited until 2 years ago to start our family so we can have a house, especially like now in this market. So it's just kind of not realistic. And you don't need to own your house to have kids. You don't. They don't care. They really don't. Should you have somewhere that's safe and stable? Yes, absolutely. That's one of the 4 pillars, right? But do you need this like a closed-in fence and 3 bedrooms? And no, we have 3 kids that share 1 room right now. We live in a 2-bedroom house. Like, no, that is just such a societal norm that is not necessary. And for a lot of people, like I said, if you watch these YouTubes about the cost of living, I'm going to link another one about being house poor. You guys, it will put you right in your place if you feel like you're behind, because there are so many people out there who are just living above their means and it is affecting their lives tremendously. And you don't have to be one of those people. So with that said, I hope that this is something that might change your perspective about becoming a parent. Maybe you're in your 30s and you have been waiting for a sign if you should start your parenting journey. And I hope this can be your sign. I really do. And yeah, I think that there are so many reasons why people do not have kids or choose to delay kids that are so valid. Please hear me say that. Please hear me say that. But I really just feel like there are so many things that are kind of just excuses, and it's not a real reason. And I think that you really have to break those things down and be willing to make a change and be willing to have your perspective shifted for a good reason. So, yeah. Did this change your perspective at all? Tell me what you think. Leave a comment. I hope that there's somebody out there who feels very seen through this episode, or maybe is listening to this and this can be like a really encouraging conversation or just a place to begin your own research. Because I think it's so important. I just would hate to see where this country and this world will go to if people continue down this track of childlessness just for the sake of themselves, because it's going to be a really quiet world. It's going to be a really, really quiet world someday if that keeps on. So maybe you're on the opposite end of this conversation. So then if that's you, I also have a question for you. And it is, what is your reason for wanting or embracing motherhood? I also would really love to hear that in the comments below. Please tell me what you think. I really want to get to know you guys. I'm so happy to be here. Getting to have like a real big girl podcast is so fun. I really like doing this. And I am really looking forward to where the season is going and just getting to share more conversations on this avenue, in this space. So if you want to keep following me, I'm very active on Instagram. I also have a TikTok. Both of my handles are mama, MAMA _K _price, just like my YouTube handle is. It's the same thing. You can visit my blog at www.wildlyrootedministry.org, where you can find my children's book, Child Here is Faith. You can find my other Devo that I published late last year, and any other episodes that I have been on with other people's podcasts and other resources and my blog. So also I want to shout out sponsor for this episode, Microbalance Health. They have sponsored these episodes, and I'm so grateful for their support. They're a wonderful company. I love their products, and there's going to be a short little clip after this segment, so you can just listen and see in like firsthand some of the Microbalance Health products that I like to use in our household and why. And if you choose to buy some Microbalance Health products, there is a link below, and there's also a code that gets you 10% off your order, which is Mama K Price. So thank you guys for listening, and I can't wait to come back and talk some more. So until then, take care. Make sure you've listened to my last episode where I share our mold story. And if you have ever experienced mold in your house, you know how important it is to fight it up front and prevent it for the long haul. So you need to get some Microbalance Health products in your household ASAP. Find the link in my show notes and shop them today. You will not regret it.